Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. And as it has been over the last few weeks, we'll be talking all matters sporting press online edition Irish Jokes. As always, I'm joined by the Drakester, Barry Drake, from his Youghal holdout. He's hiding from all his adoring fans down there in Youghal. And I'm also joined by Frank Kieran of the Sporting Press, a man that has been involved on both sides of the track. He's been a bookmaker in the past, working for Boyle Sports, now firmly with the Sporting Press. Frank, it's good to see you. How's the online edition going for you?
Yeah, it's going well. I think everything has a couple of little teething problems the first night, and people panicking when the first didn't show up. But it's great to be online. Probably a little bit slower than getting there than others, but definitely a massive addition and being able to read things a little bit earlier than waiting maybe 2 and 3 days. Sometimes maybe with a bit of a delay in post. So yeah, it's going well, and hopefully onwards and upwards.
I suppose when you went online, it's great that you have the likes of, the Oaks and in recent times the Produce Stakes and now Race of Champions to talk about. It sort of adds to the interest. It gets people buying the paper, I suppose.
Yeah, big time. I think too the last year, you've seen that little bit more of a push to wanting stuff online and with the pandemic. So I suppose it would be probably a good time to launch it in conjunction with the Sporting Press Oaks, and I think it's done well. And I'd say it'll be onwards and upwards. It's definitely going to suit people in the UK and Australia and stuff like that. And it's, as I say, great to be able to read it. It's like I'm living out to Derby Lakes. I have the paper on a Wednesday morning, which is handy. Not everybody has that luxury, so they're going to have it from now on. You can have it from Tuesday night if you want it. So it's great in terms of, especially to the likes of this, if you're a little bit of a previews of finals and stuff that you're not getting the last minute, or you maybe miss a Friday night final. So yes, I think it's great to see them taking that leap forward.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's so easy to read actually online. It's a great format. It's the exact same one as the Racing Post use for their online format, and very, very easy to read. We'll get back to Frank in a moment. Barry, we have to talk about the Sporting Press online edition Irish Oaks. 2 sensational semi-finals on Saturday night. Of course, we've come to expect it from this Oaks, a vintage crop of bitches and 2 sensational displays, both by the winners, of course, Billy's Diva in front of Manny. The 2 runners-up didn't run too bad either, and it just so happens that the likes of Ballydoyle Ross and Highview Magnet have made it one of the great Oaks finals of recent times. A lot to look forward to on Saturday night.
That's for sure, Ian. It's been a fabulous event, one of the best in recent times for sure. We had been waiting for the magical 28-second barrier to be broken over the last couple of weeks, and Front O'Mahony delivered that spectacular performance on Saturday night, and the countdown now is well and truly on to the big final on Saturday night, and it's going to take some winning on the night.
Yeah, Frank, obviously you're heavily involved now in the writing and, looking back on some of the great bitches through breeding situations and whatnot. They're a very special crop, 2 unbelievable semi-finals last Saturday night.
Yeah, unbelievable. You say, with the exception of probably Ballymac area and Sing Along Sally, you had every top bitch in the country. It had that look about it from the start, and remember writing in the post or in the Sporting Press that it had that look of the cream rising to the top, and that's definitely been the case over the last couple of weeks. And so, sensational bitches, and arguably probably one of the best in the 30-year sponsorship by the paper.
Yeah, absolutely. Barry, we'll kick off the opening semi-final. Billy's Diva, you were talking about the magical 28-second barrier. I've sort of been predicting that she would do it over the last few weeks. She hasn't quite done it. She did 28-14 from the front. Brilliant performances you'd expect from this star daughter of Good News and JT Sahara. She went 4 clear, but she wins a half length from Scooby Princess. It was an incredible display by both the winner and the second.
She might have even been 5 clear, I'd say, but it was an amazing performance from both the winner and the second. It's hard to believe that, like, we all know how fast Scooby Princess is, but if you were told that Billy's Diva was 4 or 5 in front and she'd only win by a half, don't know would I believe that, but we see it all happen on Saturday night, and the second last nothing in defeat. We thought Billy's Diva would, even though she had a tough draw in trap number 5, we expected her to make the early running, and she got to the front early and put on a great show for us. Scooby Princess, another great performance from Jennifer O'Donnell's runner. She got a great draw in the final. I think everyone in the final has a good draw. So it's going to be some final next Saturday night. But yeah, Billy's Diva, great to see her post such a quick time on a great race.
Frank, I said on Saturday night in Talking Dogs TV that you can't really burn the candle at both ends. So the fact that Billy's Diva scorched out, did the early running to halfway, and then Scooby Princess is doing the running from halfway, the natural inclination is next week going, God, Scooby Princess might beat her. But we've seen what they do. Billy's Diva is just clearly faster to halfway, and Scooby Princess is probably faster from halfway. If they ran it in a 2-dog trial, would it be the same results? It seemed the two of them got a clear run the other night. I thought Frank was pretty still there for a moment.
It's hard to know. Like, at the end of the Billy's has form in the boot well, so she, you just wonder if Scooby had got a little bit closer to the other evening again, would Billy's Diva find a little bit more for pressure? So, like, she has the form in the book over further, and sometimes, because you said the clip she was going to the third, fourth bend, it is hard to keep that going right to the line, even if you are a noted stayer and one that it has one over further. So again, 2-dog trial based on the other night's run, Scooby may have picked her up, but again, it's all hindsight. We can speculate, but I would be inclined to think maybe Billy's might have found that little bit more, given she has the form in the book. But that's not taking away anything from Scooby Princess, because, as you said, she perished from later on, and definitely could be the flame the ointment in the final if there was any scrappy.
Yeah, could be. It's worth pointing out that Billy's Diva, she can certainly go faster, Barry. She even went faster on debut. Like, that's how good a bitch she has been from the very start. I think she did 28.09 on debut, and she's winning 28.14 in the semi-finals of the Sporting Press Irish Oaks. But it'd be no surprise to you, let's say, next week, if she did hit the lids, that she did do a 27.90.
No, definitely not. And at the same time, if you're bouncing out in front and you're doing 28.14, it's near impossible to pick a greyhound up when they're going that quick. And that's a good point that Frank made there about Billy's Diva, pulling out a bit more, because when you see her in front, you just absolutely fall down if she was passed. So look, it's going to be a big night for the Kennedys. They've been slightly unlucky in big races with Billy's Diva. I think she's got a great draw in the final. We'll obviously touch on that a little later, but she's there and going to take some stopping for sure.
Looking behind her, we've mentioned Scooby Princess. She's just been an unbelievable form. She really is at the very peak of her powers at present. But Ballydoyle Rossa, I know she's beaten 8 lengths back into third spot, but she ran some race to qualify. Like, she was last down the back straight. She found traffic off the second bend. She had to come around them off the last bend, got up in the closing yards, and in the end, she comfortably qualified by a length. But Barry, she's some fast lady. She can certainly play a part in the final, but she's going to need to be at her very, very sharpest.
That's for sure. Look, ever since that big performance down in Greyhound Park, when she done a wonderful performance over 550 yards, I think that was the makings of her. Since then, she has backed it up with great performances. And as you said, she was out with the washing going down the back straight, and look, for all money that she was going to be out. But the pace she showed to finish third was great to see. And she's there in the final. Anything can happen on the night. She's capable of doing 28-second, 28-10 runs. But look, it's going to be difficult. But she's there, and I'm glad she's in the final, because she's been a joy to watch over the last number of weeks.
Yeah, just something I want to touch on here, Frank. You're the man that's been, into the breeding over the last while. And if you look through the dams of the various 6 semi-finalists, JT Sahara, Mount Taylor Queen, Ballymac Razzle, Kalinan Baby, Razzle Dazzle Prue, and Fira Mosky, they were all very talented trackers, but they're all now proven brood bitches. Normally you get the odd one or two that you wouldn't have recognized, but I can safely say I've seen all of them race, and they could all run.
Yeah, they definitely passed it on to their offspring in that case. And it was like Ballymac Razzle, she's done it more than once. Mount Taylor Queen as well. Yeah, an exceptional. And like Sophia Mosky, I mentioned her as well, and going on back to that lane, getting plenty of staying pedigree and stuff on that side as well. But it's great to see those good bitches keeping their names in the highlights as well. That they're down passing that pace on to their daughters. And you say you do on occasion get that random one, that a little bit of an unknown bitch, maybe something that didn't race. But these were ladies that are elders and have now passed. It's exciting to see that as well, that these are still.
Sorry, Frank, you're breaking up there just a little bit.
To others. It's great that these ladies can pass it on to their daughters. Like they say, there were no slouches themselves on the track and operate at decent levels, the best of breeding. And it's great for Irish breeding that you're seeing these ladies starting to throw ones as good as themselves, and not one-offs. More than cases than that, there's always something else in an earlier litter as well from these ladies.
Yeah, it's funny, like in 2 or 3 years' time, we'll be talking about the likes of these bitches again and their offspring running in the Oaks and, various competitions through the calendar. We'll move on to the second heat. Just want to mention the three that went out there. Swanley Chick, obviously, she was bidding to be in an Oaks final for the second year running. It just didn't quite happen for her the other night. Took a little bit of a bump early. She was third down the back, but when you have Ballydoyle Ross on your heels off the last bend, you're always going to be in trouble. Razzle Dazzle Maya ran out of her skin through the competition for Neelis O'Connell. She lost nothing in defeat. She was 20-1 the other night. You can see why she was 20-1, but she really did give them a good twist through the Derby, or through the Oak, should I say. And Sinfonia, we keep suggesting, this lady actually popped out of traps the other night, just couldn't quite hold her position. And in the end, she was probably too prominent. She was forced to check up. She's one for a bit further. Barry will probably see her in the Corncocullen.
Yeah, without a doubt. She's put on some great displays as well, coming from the clouds, and a bit unlucky to be knocked out the other night. But that's the joys of racing, and you need a bit of luck when you're coming from behind.
Yeah, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go on to the second semi-final. Frank, we'll give you first mention here. Frontomani, we've known for quite some time. She's an exceptionally fast lady. She had a 28-11 on her card prior to the Puppy Oaks in just an ordinary race. Well, not an ordinary race. It was a good race at Shelbourne Park. But she then produced a few series of unbelievable runs to the Puppy Oaks. We've seen the pace she showed last week against Ballymacbeanie, and this week it was just a combination of it all. She flashed out. She was prompt at the corner. She was headed because she stays to the middle to wide, but then she just came with a withering run. She actually beat Susie Sapphire 7 lengths, which, when you consider she only took up at the running sort of on the third bend, it's some running. She has an engine like no other. She's as fast as any dog in the country, never mind bitch.
Yeah, you can imagine she's going to be great in the mix in the Derby as well. As you say, you touched on her quarter-final run. I didn't think that was going to be topped. Coming from behind to beat an Oaks winner 3 lengths, who was absolutely winging it out in front. This lady powered on. Done the same last week. As you say, Susie Sapphire to the corner pretty much level. She's a little bit more early pace. Got herself round in front. As you alluded to in commentary, she always looked to sit and duck, and that's exactly what she was down back straight. Lumen Large, Frontomani, picked her up again 7 lengths. Probably wasn't what I thought she'd power away to win by, but 27.84. She's an exceptional lady, and she just seems to have got that little bit better at boxes as well, a little bit smarter at top race. I'm not saying she's going to go to the corner with the best, but she just seems to be breaking that little bit better and giving herself a chance. And if she's on the shoulder, or any of them going down the back straight, you'd fear for those in front.
Yeah, you really would. She carries some momentum from halfway home. The 7 lengths again, I go back to it. If you'd asked me after racing, just when you're in the thick of things and you're sort of watching the Oaks, you're doing reports, you're talking Doug's TV, the English Derby's on, Race of Champions on, you're sort of not really concentrating. But if someone had said to me after racing, how did Frontomani do? I'd say she won 2 or 3 in 27.94 was an unbelievable run. But the 7 lengths sort of just jumped out at me the next morning. I go, how did she put 7 lengths between her and Susie Sapphire from the third bend? Back in third spot, Highview Magnet. This lady's been singing a sweet tune through the competition for the Merriman. She's very lightly raced coming into it and ran very well to qualify. Ballymacbeanie was a fraction unlucky. She got bumped early. Never really got a chance to get loose. The draw was there. We suspected she could be in a spot of bother unless she took a flyer. Barry, Frontomani first, and then we'll go down through the rest of them. You were mightily impressed, I'm sure.
I sure was. Probably not as impressed as you were, though. As Frank pointed out, sitting duck, I have that on my notes here. Did you invest a few quid there at 74 to 1?
No, I didn't invest at all. No. I might have got the trio or something. I don't know. But no, it was just one of those races where all she had to do was really come out on terms, and she looked like she was guaranteed a bit of a run because there was so much early speed on the inside that something had to give. And you felt that if there was any sort of bumping on the inside, Frontomani, the way she runs that opening corner, she tends to stay out wide, avoid traffic. She's probably giving them a length or two every night. She's probably doing 27.80 if she stays to a middle course rather than the wide course. But it was just, as you say, into the back straight. It was a case of when rather than if.
Yeah, Harry? Look, it was scary. It was scary watching her coming up the home straight, and the speed she has there, as you said, from the second last turn to put 7 lengths between herself and Susie Sapphire, who was setting a scorching early gallop. It was quite frightening. Great as well to see a daughter of Sonic. We went along to 2 Derby finals with high hopes of Sonic winning a Derby for the Maloney family in Gary Bow, and great to see Sonic now has a real star, and picked up a pup there recently there for my father, and so is Sonic. So dream is on.
Yeah, and Frank, we've spoken of pedigrees. Again, you look at the 6 bitches involved here. Certainly, they could all run a bit. Rural Aloha, of course, is closely related to a Derby champion herself. Rural Hawaii, Jetstream Lynx was an absolutely top-class racer in Ireland. And then in the UK, Highview Idol, talented for the Merriman. So too Highview Daisy Coulivanny Pet. Well, she was a sensation. Art of Illusion, I don't know an awful lot about, but she could run a bit. It just goes to show again. Our own Joe Sheehan always says that, an ounce of breeding's worth a ton of feeding, but there's some really fine pedigrees there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really rung through that comment in this Oaks, especially as you said. There is most years you'll see 1 or 2, maybe 3 of broods you don't know, but these are all established broods. Again, top class breed. You say with Front of Manny, Derby pedigrees there. No doubt that she could well give that Derby a rattle as well. But the top class bitches are now passing on. I suppose maybe a lot of them are maybe nursed through a little bit more now. They're not maybe over raced as much maybe as they were years ago. So they've got that little bit left in the tank to pass on to their offspring. But definitely, as you said, you've pointed out on a couple of occasions, there's the dams, and it's their offspring are now are the ones at the top of their game. And as you say, in 2 or 3 years' time, it's going to be these ladies that it's their offspring are going to be talking about in derbies and Oaks finals, and it's going to be a continuous cycle by the looks of it. The way on the form that these ladies are in, and you'd be surprised the likes of your Front of Manny, Bonnie McBeanie's, Billy's Davis, Scooby's Princess, etc. They didn't throw top quality stock whenever it comes to their time in the breeding sheds. Yeah,
Barry might know more about it now. Bally McBeanie, we might not see too much more of this lady. She was bought for breeding. They suggested she'd be very likely raced. It's funny, I'm not sure we saw the very best of her in this Oaks. Her victory last year was just sensational. I think she was only sort of coming to a boil. I think she was only coming to a simmer in this Oaks. I think she was improving through it. I think it took her longer to come back than they probably guessed. But she's one that, in terms of pedigrees, like she's, by a Derby winner out of Coulivanny Pet, who's the dam of both Bally McBeanie, obviously, and like the likes of Pastana and others. She's a very, very special one for the future in terms of breeding paddocks. Do you think we'll see her again, Barry?
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. Look, I'm sure Declan Byrne will probably issue some kind of a statement, or maybe you might give him a ring or something like that. But no, I think the plan was to come back and hopefully defend her Oaks, and after that, I think the lads were keen, as you said. They bought her for breeding, so that's the plan. They're building up quite a stable of classy sorts. So breeding is a big thing on Pat and Alan Dobbs' list. I was listening to Declan speaking to Debbie O'Rourke prior to the race on Saturday night, and he did say that it wasn't straightforward with Bally McBeanie this year, that they had a problem with a toe, I believe. So that could have affected her over the last couple of weeks. So it was disappointing that we couldn't see her at her very best, because we have great memories of her last year.
Yeah, certainly does. Frank, I believe you have yourself down for a dog and a bitch from the first letter, do you?
I wish. I only wish. Be 2 nice ones to be starting off with, yeah. Might just be out of my price league.
They literally are going to be scarcer than hen's teeth now, I'd say. I can't imagine there'll be too many of them leaving the kennel for the first while. They might hold on to the first litter and see how they go.
No, I'd say whatever 1 or 2 mate, they were probably well booked since last year. So no, I think maybe have to sit this one out and just maybe watch them in a few years' time, take my satisfaction that way.
Yeah. Ballymacart also went out. It didn't happen for her. She didn't really get the start that she needed. She found a bit of early bother. Liam Dowling still chasing his first Oaks, Barry. Hard to believe that, he's been so dominant. Of course, he bred Bally McBeanie, who won last year's Oaks, but he's yet to win an Oaks himself.
I'm sure he'll be winning one in the coming years, because the talent he's producing is unbelievable. We're a great winner in the English Greyhound. A couple of great winners, in fact, over across the pond. We'll touch on that later, I'm sure. But no, the Dowling kennel are so powerful, and I think that Maiden Oaks title will be on the way over the next couple of years for sure.
Yeah, Highview Lemon also went out. She gave a great twist for the Merriman family. Perhaps never looked like a likely Oaks winner, but did run so well through the competition. Again, Bally McBeanie has gone out. It's such a shame. It would have been fantastic to see her line up in another Oaks final. And Ballymacart, well, she's a star performer. We'll see plenty more of her, I'm sure, in the future, both on the track and in the breeding paddocks. Gentlemen, it's time to look ahead to the final, and what a final it is. Again, Susie Sapphire, very well drawn in 1. Billy's Diva is racing in 2. That should be no problem to her, especially with Susie on her inside, who shouldn't move off. Trap 3 is Highview Magnet. 4, Scooby Princess. Out in trap 5, we have Ballydoyle Rossa, who I would imagine is probably the worst drawn of the race if you look at them. And out in trap 6, Front of Manny. It's an intriguing final, Frank. I suppose there can't be any real complaints regards the draw.
No, Barry mentioned that earlier. If you could hand pick it and you wanted everybody to try and hope for clear passage early doors in the final, that's exactly probably how you would have housed them. And as you say, Susie Sapphire, unlikely to move from the fence. She should play in the Billy's Divas hand. Probably Ballydoyle Rossa does maybe look the worst on, but she hasn't come away flying in the last few starts, so that may not overly inconvenience her either. Granted, if she pinged the lids like she did in the first round, she might have a little bit of work cut out to try and get across, given those are inside. But look, they all look perfectly housed. Front of Manny's perfectly drawn in 6. Will do, as you say, she's done in each round. She says that a little bit wide the bend, avoids the trouble. Scooby Princess, trap 4 looks ideal for her. Well, she's been seated inside, but I think she's more at home. She usually makes her way towards the middle of the track as well. So like, you'd be hoping for a clear run into the first corner. That those who should be there get there around in front, and then that battle commenced down the back straight. Susie Sapphire would probably be hoping to poach a lead and a little bit of trouble behind it. You know, unable to contain Front of Manny last week. You'd imagine her Scooby's are breathing or not around the third bend. There's only be one was definitely all to play for, and very, very open looking final, and the draw has made it even more intriguing.
Yeah, Barry, this week, if Susie Sapphire does hit the front, it's not just Front of Manny she'll have to hold. You know what I mean? If Billy's Diva, Scooby Princess, or Front of Manny turn around on her heels, you know, she's going to have her work cut out. But there's no question she's capable of going that bit faster than the 28.43 she did the other night. And Owen McKenna, you know, he's the man for the big occasion. Just would be no surprise if there was a case of Susie Sapphire getting out in front. And I don't know where the trouble's going to come, but there's a chance that they could just get in each other's way. But I'm surprised, Frank, your old team, Boyle Sports, have gone 7-4 joint favourites, Billy's Diva and Front of Manny. Front of Manny's going to need to absolutely rock it out of traps like she did tonight to get around as close as she did. If she turns and she has the likes of Billy's Diva, Scooby Princess in front of her, Ballydoyle Rossa, she's gonna have to be extra special to win. You know, 27.94 might be needed again.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. Again, probably from the point of view you're talking there, maybe the case could have been made to make Billy's slight favourite over, given she's going to have to do that little bit more work from where she is, as you said, trying to pass them all down the back straight, but could be to do with liabilities and stuff as well, and maybe sort of balance it up. But again, you can also see why Demo probably didn't split them. Just if you gain 2-dog race toss of a kind, you probably would fancy Front of Manny, so probably factoring that in as well. You know, you depend on those other. Had there been other finalists, she may well look big at 7-4. You'd be trying to pick them up later on. But I think at the prices, I'd be inclined to say maybe with Billy's where she's drawn, probably due one. She said Front of Manny's going to have that little bit more work to do. Not saying she can't do it, but I guess it's going to get that little bit harder with those bitches doing those types of clocks out in front to keep passing them. And I was blown away by the way she picked up Bonnie McBeanie a fortnight back, but this is going to be a little bit more tricky. She's more than capable, but those class of bitches are going to be hard to pick up. And if Billy's Diva takes a flare, she could just be the one that probably will all have to beat.
Yeah, Barry, it's funny, Susie Sapphire is the one for liabilities. I think she's losing a few thousand or a good few thousand. Probably not the type you want to have run for liabilities because she's perhaps the most likely pace setter. You know yourself, Oaks finals 2 of the years, that's where you want to be out in front.
Yeah, bomb away from the inside, get away in front, a bit of trouble and behind, and it'll be eye for the backers. But this final, it's almost a dream final. It could be the final of the year. The crop of bitches we have in it is frightening. Billy's Diva, you know, can she win the big one? She'd be a worthy winner, like so many in the race. Probably favour her as well slightly. But you know, with Susie Sapphire on her inside, expected probably to slip around in front. Anything could happen, and I wouldn't be ruling anything out in this final. As I said,
I just going to mention there, Billy's Diva. I suppose it means nothing in terms of the contest, but she's due a big race success. She's been in three, maybe 4 major finals. She was certainly a finalist in the National Puppy Stake. She was a finalist in the Easter Cup. She was a finalist in the Shelbourne Open 600. She's due a big one. Do you put that down to anything, or is it just a case that luck hasn't been our side in the big night?
Just hasn't happened for her, Ian. This I know, like, you've got Front of Manny and so many talented ground winning this final, but this is probably actually against her same sex. She's been one of the stars of the competition so far, and Saturday night could be the night. I wouldn't be making any excuses for her anything like that. But the Kennedys will be looking forward to it, and it's going to take some winning. It's going to be a very, very special race, and it'll be a race we will be talking about for many years to come.
You'll be wearing your Ballydoyle Rasa hat, will you?
I like her. Yeah, I like any greyhound that posts a sensational time down in Cork. We always like to see stars running down here in Cork. So yeah, look, I'd be delighted for anyone that wins it, because it's just an unbelievable fighting. They're so talented. And, they've lit up Shelbourne Park over the last couple of weeks. The Sporting Press Irish Oaks is always a special competition. And this year, everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, Frank, it's been only 6 months since our last Sporting Press Irish Oaks. I didn't mind the 6 month camp. You don't think you could put on another one towards the end of the year, could you?
Doing one year might be a bad idea. It's a strange year, all right, to think they still happened 6 or 7 months ago. Champions, but that's just been the year it is. But I don't know if the coffers will stretch to that now this time round. But listen, we've got full value for money out of this year's renewal. Like as Barry said, plenty of talk about it, and that comes down to the bitches involved. They've been exceptional and has really put it up front and centre this time around this classic.
Yeah, they sure have. It's going to be a great night's racing to look forward to on Saturday night. And of course, the final of the Sporting Press online edition Irish Oaks is going to be, as Barry said, one of the races of the year. I have no doubt about that. And thankfully, and hopefully, we'll get to see many of these bitches in action again through the year, because they look good enough to take on the dogs, many of them. And hopefully we'll see them taking on the Derby. It's about time we had another female winner of the Derby. It's been a few years now. It used to happen sort of regular enough when I was growing up in the 90s and early sort of springtime was late 99.
I thought you were going to say the 70s or 80s there.
Yeah, I'm not that much older than you now. Would you stop? Right now, poor old Frank down there. What do you remember the good bitches back in the 70s, Frank?
Yeah. Maybe stretching it. The 80s, you might be able to get away with saying 80s.
Right, on the weekend there was also top class racing down at Tralee for the Race of Champions. Of course, the Irish are continuing their challenge in the Star Sports and TRC English Derby. Our hopes perhaps took a bit of a denting in that. We'll get to that in a few minutes. I'm going to be facing some real humble pie if Ireland don't win it, because I've been really sticking it into the UK contingent over the last few months, and hopefully our dogs will come to the fore and do the business for us for the third year running. But down at Tralee on Saturday night, we've mentioned Billy's Diva and the fact that she's been denied in a couple of big finals. One of the big finals she was denied in was the National Puppy Stake. It just so happens that night, a dog that she had schooled with had been reared alongside. Explosive Boy was alongside her into the bend. The two of them clashed, allowed Ballymac Ariel to go around in front. Since then, Explosive Boy has become somewhat of a sensation. He was brilliant through the Kirby. He's a sensational winner of the Produce Stakes. And now he's a track record holder at Tralee. It was a sensational run the other night, Frank. Explosive Boy. Funny enough, I was starting to get to the point where I thought there was no better to come from this dog over 5.25 yards. He's just going to be a really top-class greyhound, but he might fall short come Derby time. The step up to 550 might just be the crowning of this dog, funnily enough. For a dog that people were going, will he stay, will he not? The other night was pretty sensational. The longer run to the corner certainly suits, and if he rocks up to Shelbourne Park in that type of form, he'll be a big player in this year's Derby. Yeah,
I thought the exact same as you said. Many did. We thought 5-5 sort of seemed to be at his limit, but definitely pinged the lids. Any other weekend in the Race of Champions, you're talking about Liam Dowell and double, but this fella to come out and do that run, simply sensational. And again, only after a little short break, wouldn't have had the benefit of a look around Tralee. I wouldn't have thought from after the Produce Stakes final, and it was sensational. Again, as you said, sort of run up suited, and I thought we would have initially struggled in the Derby and Shelbourne. Now all of a sudden you're going, this is another bite that's going to figure up around the top of the betting and it's going to have a massive say. And with that title goes this time round, Park Gilfoyle mightn't have as many in the kennel this time round, but definitely has another strong Derby challenger in this fella. It was a sensational run, and she had 14 spots off his own stars track record. Barely only 4 years old. I think it was set around the same this time 4 years ago. So that's sensational run, first time across over 550, and he could probably step up again this weekend. Was the only inconvenience is the top 5 draw this weekend. You'd be a little bit of a concern, but based on the section as last weekend, you'd imagine he should still be outgone and have the first bend to himself.
Does the fact that it's the longer run to the corner negate the fact that he's out trap 5? He'll give him that extra chance to get into full stride.
Yeah, probably does. It gives him that little bit of time to get across to where he needs to be. And it's say like last week, Sean Ballymac-Belford's probably the only one after his, or he came from off with Merlin, who done trap the lane. Probably give him something to think about, but the section still have him a couple of lengths across. You said that 25 yards extra is going to make all the difference, and I'd be very, very surprised if he doesn't turn in front, and from there he can kick on. And I'd say another dry night. The weather's good this week. I'd say he'd be looking something very, very close to that clock again.
The Kennedy family, they're doing it right. Whatever about training their dogs, the way they're breeding and they're producing them and rearing them, it's it's no fluke that these dogs are coming through for them. Okay, we've seen Billy's Diva, we've seen Explosive Boy, but there've been so many others over the last while. They're just producing star after star after star.
Yeah, big time. There's not too many weeks we don't have to wait too many weeks in the breeding page of the paper to not have one of theirs in him. But again, this sort of family, they've always taken a chance on dogs that maybe others wouldn't know over the years, different stud dogs. And okay, might have clicked this generation, but then you're served by the next one through brood bitches, etc. Like there was like Bell's Direction and stuff. What dogs that maybe others wouldn't have been as quick to go to, and it's definitely stood and they know what they're doing. They're mixing it up in the breeding front, and they definitely look. They're on a sensational run at the minute. Their stock are believable, and like you say, you're flying high on every front. You've Billy's Diva, you've Explosive Boy. You couldn't ask for two better for offspring for a breeding kennel to showcase your abilities and what sort of thoughts they have in breeding. And anything they do has to be respected. And everybody wanting to get into breeding. You look at the way they're happy to cross things and how they're able to mix and match. Definitely a kennel to keep an eye on that front.
Yeah, it is amazing though that it is their own stud dog. Obviously, good news. He's made an unbelievable start to a stud career.
Yeah, super dog, and he's getting plenty of winners as well. But again, he was a sensational dog. He's not maybe unlike Explosive Boy. Probably during the Derby, you always knew he was in with a squeak. Maybe a couple of rounds of it, I thought to myself, he's maybe not just his home over the 550. All of a sudden, he produces a couple of runs towards the end of it. Now you go, hold on, this fella actually can win the Derby now. And so it proved. Again, an exceptional dog. His Sarah was an exceptional dog as well, definitely in opinion. You go back to them. Again, another one that was in the Guild 5 kennel. So they've kept doing it time in, time out. And it seems to be their dogs throw them at stud as well. Like, the good news is doing it now. He's right up there with the pick of them. And I imagine it's going to be very busy down there in the coming months again. Like, but definitely a Sarah. Anyone with a good bitch should be considering going to if he's suitable.
Yeah, and he's producing now. Apart from obviously we see Explosive Boy is early speed, and Good Cody is Good Cody a good news? I'm not entirely sure. He's brilliant early speed, but they're also, I've always thought of them as really strong running greyhounds. They just seem to have an ability to get to the winning line.
Yeah, you go back to David opinion. You don't win two Cesar, which is like, well, unless you're able to stay a bit to Dundalk Internationals, and not the lane's constantly there, and it seems to be with the brood lanes. Kennedy's kennel as well, that they keep sort of producing those. And as much as we all want ones with early pace, you need that little bit of staying prowess as well. No 550 in Shelbourne, you can ping out in front and always do it from the front, as you alluded to earlier with the Oaks runners. You're running that hard 525 over the first bit of it. That last 25, even last 100 yards can be taxing, so you do need something that stays as well. And he's definitely throwing them with pace from the front, and that can come from off the pace as well.
Yeah, Barry. I know he's running in a very valuable final this weekend, but I'm just skipping ahead and just looking forward to seeing him in Shelbourne Park over 550 yards. Explosive Boy is, he's just a real star.
Yeah, he sure is. And in terms of Good Cody, he's out of definite opinion. And Good Cody actually had a brother, Fred, who was in the care of Billy Dunn. He broke 29 seconds around Youghal there a couple of weeks ago. I think he's been sold. He'll join the Lee Field kennel in Monmore. Just last week, we see one of the performances of recent years by a debutant around Youghal, Maria Kennedy's Rocky's Guy, doing a sub 28.90 run on debut. Another star of the future, I think, from Good News. So everything. It's happening every week for the Kennedys, and Good News, definite opinion. It just moves on. Explosive Boy, yeah, what a performance on Saturday night. Track record, everything about it. 4:20, 14:02, lightning early. pace and relentless off the front. And as you said, he's going to be one of the leading candidates for the upcoming Irish Greyhound Derby later this year. Great to see him, one of the highlights of the weekend for sure.
Now, from a breeding powerhouse and a massive kennel like John Kennedy to one of the smaller kennels in the country, Liam Dowling, and his double with Ballymac Belvolt and Ballymac Merlin. Ballymac Belvolt is a real strong runner. You know, the 550 might even be too short for him in time. He probably wants 575, 600 yards, but very strong. Picked up Deadly Samurai, who I didn't think he'd get as close to the line in front as he did. I thought he wouldn't get it in the Black Taxi, the 550 yards, but he got there. He's only beaten the neck in 29.88. Amazing Alice runs a big race in third spot. And then Ballymac Merlin win the second heat. He was a dog that really caught my eye in the early rounds of the Kirby. I backed him at 50-1 each way. He went out in the semi-finals. It wasn't happening for him at that point. I thought he'd come forward each round, but he was still very puppyish. But on Saturday night, he grew up a bit. And judging by the way that Liam and Shane have spoken about Ballymac Merlin, it seems no surprise to them that he's come to the fore like he did. Ballymac Merlin, very, very impressive display. To hold, like, he didn't just hold Butsy's Bengal into the corner, he led him comfortably and made every inch of the running to win in fine style. And we know Butsy's Bengal is sizzling to that opening corner. So it was a hell of a run by Ballymac Merlin. The 29.55, you could have been, forgiven after the race for thinking, that's going to be the standard bearer. Of course, we know what Explosive Doyle did a few minutes later, but brilliant display by Ballymac Merlin.
Yeah, as you said, if Explosive Boy wasn't in action below in Tralee on Saturday night, we'd be just raving about Ballymac Merlin this morning. He's just coming now. I think he's a junior, a July puppy, and he seems to be just at his best now at this stage. Another one with impressive early dash, and I'm sure he's going to be a leading candidate as well for all the big competitions for the remainder of the year. I think there's more to come, and that was a top class performance, 29.55, and and frightening performances over the course of the weekend, not just in Tralee but Shelbourne Park as well. It really was a marvellous weekend for Greyhound Racing.
Yeah, Frank, obviously they are little brothers, Ballymac Merlin and Ballymac Belvolt. They're two dogs that are clearly very talented, but what I like about them is that they haven't reached their ceiling yet. They continue to improve.
Yeah, both only have had 9 starts, and both are in the mix in the produce or in the juvenile classic and the Kirby. One week semi-final and final in the flip reverse with the other lads. So definitely 9 starts. You can expect much of improvement. And you think of the team that the Darlings have in English Derby. You throw these 2 lads into that when they go to the Irish Derby, they're going to improve a notch by then. And it could well be Van for top string in the kennel at that stage, which is a big claim when you have the likes of Ballymac King and Ballymac Ariel, Ballymac Wild, but definitely you expect it has to be more improvement. Only had 9 runs each, and they've been mixing with top companies since. You said maybe a little concern maybe with Elvid, maybe this doesn't have that much early pace, but Merlin definitely looks a sort now, and as Barry said there, 29.55. Any other week you'd be spouting about this fella in a semi-final run in the Race of Champions like that. Just has eclipsed a little bit by that track record breaking run, but on its own right, 29.55, trapped the lane. Couldn't ask for much more for a dog having only his 9th start. Yeah,
it'd be no surprise to you if, I don't know whether they might take in the likes of a Champions Stakes or something like with Ballymac Merlin. He probably needs the racing. It'd be no surprise to you if he does a 29.20 in the first or second round of the Derby and establishes himself as one of the leading fancies.
Oh, absolutely not, because you know there's going to be improvement from this fella as well. He's had that little bit of a break from the Kirby and stuff as well, so maybe a little bit ring rusty even arguably last Saturday night, but definitely some of these Darling dogs, just the way that they grow into it, you come in a little bit unexposed to a point and you go, oh, they grow into it, but definitely these fellas are now highlighting themselves as definite, I'd say, possible candidates for Derby glory. I'd say maybe the strap might be a little bit short for Belvolt, but definitely Merlin has all the hallmarks of a Derby candidate.
And of course, Shane sort of said it the other night on Talking Dogs TV. Yeah, before the draw, well, where would you want? We'd take 1 and 2 if we were given it. Quelle surprise that it drops 1 and 2. Belvolt is on the right side of Merlin. He's on the fence. He won't move off the fence. If Merlin happen to hit the lids, JT, our Deadly Samurai, is going to go fast in the middle of the track. As we said earlier on about Explosive Boy, clearly he has brilliant early speed, but he's out in trap 5. There is a chance that Ballymac Merlin just might get up the inside of Deadly Samurai, and you never know, be on the inside of 3 or 4 dogs in the corner and go about it. Yeah,
they definitely have a squeak. They say the draws worked out well for him. Samurai pinged away last week. again, he could probably be the one maybe hold Explosive Boy up. I still can't see him being held in the corner. Listen, Belvert has the draw against the fence, but I think Merlin probably still looks at danger of those two in trap two. Plenty of early pace. You'd imagine he should be able to clear his cannon from Onion that runs the corner. Does he get there before Explosive Boy? I just don't think so at this stage of his career. That's not to say couple of months down the line, during the Derby, you'd see it different. But I just think maybe with that little bit of experience, a wee bit more experience, and I haven't been mixing it against the real top fellas in the last few weeks. I just think might stand to Explosive by an occasion, but I wouldn't be surprised to see things a lot closer. I'd say the clock again will be. I expect another hot clock, and I'd expect Velvet or Merlin, sorry, not to be too far behind Explosive by. I just don't think you get the Velvet on this occasion. But definitely in the year, possibly.
Barry, I suppose if you are sort of looking for positives for Explosive Boy, he's out in trap 5. It's worth pointing out that Pat Guilfoyle did see them wide in the opening round of the Produce Stakes. It was something he was clearly considering himself.
Yeah, definitely. You wouldn't be, he's out in 5, but if he does it right, he can win from any trap, as we've seen in the past. But at the same time, you definitely won't be straightforward. It'd be hard to back that track record performance up, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was turned over. But look, he's going to start as a short price favourite. Classy dog. I think it's a fantastic event once again below him. Tralee, great sponsorship from SIS, 15,000 euros into the winner, 2 runs. There's so many great opportunities for greyhounds here in Ireland. I think we're so lucky. The money has been fantastic over the last couple of months. We had the Masters below in Waterford. We had the Clone and Blaze stake at Cork. There's so many opportunities for these high-class greyhounds, and I think we have a fantastic calendar, and we're so lucky.
Okie dokie. We move on because there just so happens to be a big competition across the pond as well. The English Derby is ongoing. Ireland's hopes were dented somewhat on Friday night, Barry. Pretty flat effort by our team on Friday night, but thankfully Saturday was considerably better. As I said, I'm under fire at present. I've done my best to fly the flag for Ireland over the last few months, and if Ireland don't win it, I'm going to be facing some real stick. But we're still in there pitching. The way I see it, that if you were to pick our top 7 or 8 dogs from the start of the competition, they're all pretty much there, bar 1 or 2 exceptions. We still have a very, very strong hand, but the English are starting to show their hand as well, Barry.
Anything could win that competition. You could get any dog beat over there. You know what I mean? I think it's just so hard to predict what's going to happen. It's been a nightmare for punters. Luckily, I've been laying a few over the last couple of weeks, so I've been getting rewarded for that. But it's just in terms of, really, it's completely different to Shelbourne Park. Whereas if it was ran at Shelbourne Park, I think that the really good dogs, would come to the fore. But in terms of Toaster, I just think anything can happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if anything won it.
Of the Irish dogs that are still standing, is there anything that's been really catching the eye?
It was great to see Derjet Sydney win at the weekend. It would be quite a story if he could back it up, and he's a leading player for sure, and I'd be certainly rooting for him, especially with his Yall ties.
I'm sure you will. Frank, just looking at the last round over the weekend, the English dogs that did come to the fore were the real speed merchants, the dogs that have the blistering early speed. It's only the second round of the Derby. They've got another 4 runs to negotiate. In terms of the strong running dogs, the dogs that can do it everywhere, the Irish seem to have their measure in that sense. We are hoping, though, that these speed merchants just start to dent in their sort of their gloss, shall we say, over the next few weeks, because they did look pretty good over certainly on Friday night, 1 or 2 of the English dogs.
Yeah, I'd say from your own point of view, you've been sort of playing up the Irish chances. I wouldn't just be panicking yet. I definitely think we're still in the mix. I was just looking at the betting this morning, top 12 in the betting across the board. 8 are still Irish, 3, and so I definitely think it still is probably ways in our favour. Like, that's the look about it, that from the start of Derby, you go with early pace sorts, and you go with those strong stand types. On a little bit of a betting piece for the Sporting Press. I put up 5 of them, 2 of them bowed out of the weekend. Native Maestro was the one I went with for the early pace. He's still towards the market, and again, maybe he's beating the collar deal, beaten the other night by Ballymac Fair one. He was another down run, and one I'd never heard much of before, but beaten fair and square. But in fact, the Native Maestro still top of the pay, shows he still has a chance. The other couple that who battled through for me were the Machine and again and Ballymac Wild. I definitely think he's been impressed with the 2 starts. I know they were keeping an eye on him on his inside seed. across the pond. There was talk maybe that were maybe moving him, but he seems to be at home. There was a dinger of a run the other night, and he's the sort that has started to start a little bit better again. Like he was dog fancied last year in the final of the Irish Derby, and just didn't come away in terms, and been a little bit hit and miss, just a little bit slow to come to hand. But I think they have him spot on. They sent the right team to England, the Downs, and left the right fellas at home as well. They played their hand well, and then they're spread across competition. You talk about he's yet to win an Oaks, yet to win an English Derby, but all of a sudden he definitely went into direct, and his team are probably going stronger than any at the minute. They didn't take any real dents, and I just think it will come to it as you go down through 3 and 4 more rounds, that it will be one. Granted, one be out in front, but those that can stay are probably the ones that are still going to be in the mix. The English Derbies in the last couple of years, Nottingham and stuff, will show you that on the previous ones at Toast. Definitely, I wouldn't be panicking at this stage. It won't be an Irish Derby, and they can do another couple more flashy runs, but flashy runs don't always invariably win you the Derby on the night itself. And I think I'd still be inclined to be in the Irish camp, and those we know do stay, and those with the form around Shelbourne Park.
Yeah, certainly the flashy runs in the second round are all well and good, but as you say yourself, there's a long, long way to go. I haven't checked it out, but I believe this could only be the second time that Liam Dowling has challenged for an English Derby, and he was second in his only other appearance. Am I wrong? He didn't go last year in the shortened English Derby, and I think his previous raid to Nottingham was his first go, and the second with Ballymac Taz.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. That was only a second attempt, but yeah,
I could be wrong now, but I just can't remember him going prior to Ballymac Taz.
No, you could be right. I can't think off the top of my head now either. You say he did sit last year's out, I think, to reduce prize money and just complications and stuff involved in travelling. I think they took the decision to stay at home, but they're back with a bang this year, bigger prize pool to chase, and that's understandable. They sent a hell of a team, and I know Ballymac area probably just hasn't shown yet either, but sort of the style the front of Manny, and imagine she's only going to pick up the more she gets into the competition. Definitely not without a chance, and I wouldn't be surprised if it resided in Kerry, and it'll keep face for you if it does.
It's always bad when a dub is dependent on Kerry men. Barry, if you had to pick a likely winner,
anything, absolutely anything could win it. I wouldn't be surprised if any dog that's left in the competition won it. Hopefully, as I said there, Jet Sydney, Pat Buckley. Will have he has a good couple of weeks ahead, I think, still there in the mix, and the Kerry dogs as well. Obviously, Ballymac Wild is a greyhound. Tommy Lyons' favourite dog. Wouldn't it be great if he could want to win the English Derby?
Yeah, he's still, like, he is a warrior. There's no question about it. No, that's great, lads. As we said, hopefully the Irish will be there in strong numbers come the end of the Derby. When you consider we still have the likes of Native Maestro, Dearjet Sydney, Knock the Bull, Sid, who's yet to produce his best over there. When he gets his trapping right, it could be a very different scenario. Ballymac Aerial, I'll keep going on. Ballymac Wild, The Machine, Beach Avenue. When you actually think about the names we still have in there, they're a very, very, very strong bunch of greyhounds, and hopefully the dream of 6 Irish trained finalists, maybe not quite fully alive as yet, but I just wouldn't be discounting 4 or 5 still in the final. Anyway, lads, great chatting to you. Looking forward to a cracking Oaks. Frank, if I had to put you on the spot, what's going to win the Oaks on Saturday night?
I go with Billy Steve. I put her in front of Manny up anti-post, and I just think on the trap draw, and the fact that we talked about it earlier, that she's just going to have maybe a little bit too much traffic to pass. For Billy Steve, it comes out, she's just clicking a wee bit better at boxes. She's a draw. She should be forced around the opening corner, and I think, granted, on last week's running, you maybe would have thought, had that been in front of Manny behind her, would she have picked her up? Arguably, possibly, yeah, but I think if she's out in front this time, and she'll pick the pressure. I think if anything comes at her again, she'll just have enough, and she deserves it. Third big final this year in Shelbourne. Surely she's entitled a little bit of silverware at this stage for her efforts to date.
Here, Frank. Barry?
Well, I put the mockers on Ballymac Art last week. I was hoping she might slip into the first 3 and maybe get 1 in the final or 2. That didn't happen. She went out, but I'll back what Frank's said up, and I'll go with Billy Steve to finally get her big night in Shelbourne Park on Saturday night.
I'll tell you what, lad, she's carrying some weight, because I'm going to go with Billy's Diva too. If that's not a sign to go elsewhere, folks, I don't know what is. Anyway, lads, thanks very much. Great chatting to you. We're looking forward to an unbelievable final to the Sporting Press online edition. Irish Oaks at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. Of course, Talking Dogs TV will be covering it, as we will be the Race of Champions, sponsored by SIS down at Tralee, and we'll hope to see another epic encounter down there. But that's it for Talking Dogs on this Monday evening. Join us again next week when we'll be looking back on the Oaks, the Race of Champions, and of course, hopefully talking about Ireland's 17 runners from the second round, all going through to the quarterfinals. But that's it for this week. We'll see you next time.